Hello guys, how's it going? My name is Dalaran. A lot more information surfaced about the possibility of sub-races for World of Warcraft. And today I want to take a look at it and kind of just react to it, tell you my thoughts on it, and without further ado, let's just get into it, because there is a lot to talk about here. Now, basically, what people did is went through a bunch of WoW files, a little bit of model viewer, a lot of forums. It's one of those things where internet gets together and tries to find out the answers to life's mysteries, and in this mystery we would have BlizzCon and possible WoW expansion announcements, and they found the sub-races for Nightborn, High Mountain Tauren, Void Elf, and Lightforged Draenei. So the possibility for sub-races could come in for World of Warcraft. The idea of sub-races would basically be, let's say you are a Tauren, but what if you wanted to be a High Mountain Tauren or a Tonka? You could with sub-races. You would basically have a selection so you could customize yourself more. Because a Tonka is a lot like a Tauren, basically like a Tauren, just looks different, was born in a different region, and they are part of the Horde, so it would fit lore-wise. So you can customize yourself to be not just any other Tauren shaman, but a Tonka shaman, a Tonka Tauren. I mean, that'd be kind of cool. And then same thing can go with Night Elves. We can have Draenei, we have the Gnomes. There's a lot of possibilities for sub-races. And you even find an immigrant showing about just about every single comparison of sub-races that could be out there, just ideas. I'm going to talk about it in a bit. Let's get to the meat of the topic though, the Nightborn, High Mountain Tauren, Void Elves, and Lightforged Draenei. So on Wowhead, if you go to a website, I'm probably gonna have a link for the link below so you guys can see for yourself. But they found Nightborn, Void Elf, Lightforged Draenei, and High Mountain Tauren as sub races within the files. And what are the possibilities for all these sub races? Now, when it comes to Nightborn and High Mountain Tauren, I'm not really sure where they would fit for Horde or Alliance, because in a way they're kind of just on the middle ground. But High Mountain Tauren have the models of Tauren with body paint and better antlers, way better horns in my opinion, and Nightborn are basically have the skeleton of a Night Elf, but the customization of gear of, I guess, NPCs, because you don't really get their gear anywhere else, and I don't even know how like vanilla gear would apply to these. But let's say there are sub races for like already existing factions, and like Nightborn are basically a sub race for Night Elf. The Void Elves, I guess, would be a Blood Elf, so it's Horde, Lightforged Draenei, High Mountain, and Tauren. At least that's how I'm getting it. Then we're gonna have sub-races, so like you can be Night Elf, but you can be Nightborn if you wanna. You can be Draenei, but you can be a Lightforged Draenei, Tauren if High Mountain. But in a way, I feel like some of these sub-races could technically be for Alliance and Horde, because I don't think it really would matter that much, and I'll explain in a bit. Anyway, Nightborn. They'll look pretty cool. And I feel like to stylize like a mage that is a Nightborn, rather than have like a male Night Elf mage, a male Nightborn mage I think would look cooler, and he would be more stylish. He even looks a little bit more in, deep in thought, deep in a train of thought, a little bit more, just mind is kind of a bit clouded. And even the hairstyle options, the way that the eyebrows, I guess, the way they shape the ears, I feel like even fits it a little bit better and will look a lot cooler. But these guys technically could be for Alliance and Horde. If there were a sub-race for Night Elves, that would make sense, because bone structure is basically the same, because if you look at the, I guess the animations, they have the same animations for talk, casting abilities as the Night Elves. But these guys are addicted to mana, and so are Blood Elves, so they are more relatable to Blood Elves than Night Elves, but we'll just go on from there. Then the Void Elf. So this is the model that they found for Void Elves. This is the female, looks like there's a braid and some other hair customization, white eyes, nothing else is colored, same for a male. Basically, it's the idea that Alleria would lead a band of elves, a lot like Kael'thas, Sunstrider back in Warcraft if you played that game, and he led everybody through the portal. Alleria would do a similar thing and basically make a cult of elves that follow the Void. And I guess it would make sense, but also I'm not quite sure. It's a question of where would these guys go, because Alleria isn't really for the Alliance or the Horde. She's kind of like with Turelion, and they're having a whole nother struggle. Technically, Alleria could take the Elves to the Horde, because there's Sylvanas, her sister, but she hasn't talked to her. But she talked to the other sister, who is leaning more towards Alliance, and she helped Alliance in the past. So would these guys go for the Alliance, or are they just a sub-race for Blood Elves? I don't really know. That's where I'm a bit confused. Here's some of the gear that they have. People datamine this stuff, like a shield. We have some kind of an offhand with purple effects. I'm pretty sure this looks similar to some I've seen in Raid in the past. And then a weapon that I'm pretty sure this is a recolor for some weapon. I'm pretty sure the original weapon is brighter yellow bluish blade with like lightning effects. A lot like what you start out with Outlaw Rogue if you were to boost the character from the start, unless they changed the weapon sense. I remember one in beta. I don't really know where these guys would go, honestly. Lightforged Draenei actually do bring a little bit more to the table if you were to customize yourself. I mean, look at the horns, look at the like tattoo metal bits strapped to their bodies, and then the bottom of the hooves. I mean, they have like the horseshoe. They have a golden horseshoe at the bottom of the hoof, so I think it's kind of cool. Even the females have a little bit more customization. Not only do you have the eyes, which are yellow, so that would give you a lot more fun customizations to play with. I don't even know what these guys would be past paladins and priests, though. I can't see these guys as a normal warrior or a mage, really. I just don't know. And plus, this would be kind of cool. These guys would, of course, ally themselves with Alliance because the Draenei are following Valen. Valen's part of like the whole Crusade of Light. There's no way these guys could ally themselves with a Horde. So it seems like we have two factions that technically could be with one or the other, and then Lightforged Draenei 100% with Alliance, which makes me think that these are going to be sub-races of like Void Elves from Blood Elves, Nightborn from Night Elves kind of deal. Last one is, of course, High Mountain Tauren. I'm going to put a censor bar just for YouTube because it's going to be like, this video is not advertiser friendly, so I just don't... I mean, there's nothing there. I'm not actually covering up. It's just a patch of fur, but they just didn't put underwear on these guys for Wowhead, so, you know, I'm just trying to make it out of here live, man. But I like the bullwinkle horns and the body paint. I think that would be cool enough. I think these guys as shamans and warriors would look that much cooler. Same thing for females, and I feel like it's just those slight little customizations that would just make the character, you know, just a little bit of that extra touch to the character. I think that would be awesome. But again, the High Mountain Tauren are a bit of like, we're not really Alliance, we're not really Horde, we're not really sure what we are. So I don't really know how that would work with, I guess, everything else. I don't know. This would, of course, be interesting to see how it'll turn out in the future. There are some possibilities for other sub-races, and I just found an immigrant from a Reddit that has a few ideas. I'm kind of just going to go over every single idea, tell you why I think it would work, why it wouldn't, and just really quickly, because there's 24 of them. First one, Arbarian, the Arathi last clan of Arathor. Basically, tall humans, Varkal looking. If you're thinking of like, if they're talking about Varkal models on humans, I don't think so. But if they want to make it more barbarian looking, Diablo 3 berserker looking kind of humans with a few customization options, maybe bigger beard, scars, that'd be cool, but not like a Varkal model though. I think that would be a bit too big, too weird. And then of course we have the High Elves, which are kind of boring because it's basically Blood Elf model with blue eyes, and I guess you'd give these guys to Alliance, or would these guys be on a Horde? I'm not quite sure how that would work. The Dark Iron Dwarves would be perfect for the Horde, or for the Alliance, I mean. But imagine a Fire Mage that's Dark Iron, or a Warlock Dark Iron, or a Rogue. I think that alone, a Dark Iron Dwarf Rogue is worth enough to play compared to the normal models we have for our Dwarves Rogues. I mean, the red eyes, the fire red beard, and of course we have the Wild Hammer, which would make awesome warriors, awesome shamans. Not really sure how that would go as paladins, great rogues, and overall great hunters. I think just the tattoos, the fire red hair, just look at that face, just that would look great on any kind of character. I don't really know how that would work lore-wise. I guess this is the gnomes that didn't escape from the Nomergon, and they just got hit with the old green crap. I don't really know how that would work lore-wise. It just doesn't look physically appealing. But these guys, on the other hand, the mecha gnomes would be a lot better. I mean, imagine a gnome with like some metal bits and glowing eyes. Now that would be kind of cool. Imagine a warrior gnome, right? Normally gnomes are not all that strong. I mean, for them to hold a big sword or a sword and shield would be a little bit much, but if you have an arms warrior gnome who would be like, you know, let's say fighting some boss, but he has metal arms so he can swing harder than anybody else, I think that would help a little bit more to the lore. Plus it would look a lot cooler if you had like metal bits as customizable option for gnomes. The Nightborn we just discussed, so this one we're kind of gonna space over, so I guess it's technically not 24 sub-races. A lot of these are gonna be repeating though, of course. Cenarion, basically the centaur looking Night Elves. I just don't know if they have enough animations to make these guys work. I mean, they've kind of been in lore forever, the biggest one being Cenarion and like the most known. Everybody else kind of just fades from memory. I highly doubt it. It's just, I feel like that'll be too much work for the art department to customize them to work, you know, exactly perfect with I don't really know. I guess with the rest of the animations and rest of the game design with gear, like how would pants look on these guys? People always wonder, how would pants look on Naga? What about these guys? I mean, how do you try to put pants on a horse? Eridar, the uncorrupted survivors of Argus. That is very unlikely, because basically we're on Argus right now, and all the survivors are deformed or they're part of the demon army. So I don't really know how that would work, or how would they look any different. Maybe if they had like guys that look as tall as Valen, you know, standing up straight with slightly different model, that would be interesting, but I think that's very unlikely. The Broken, they actually adjusted these guys for Legion. In Legion on Argus, compared to the guys in BC, the Broken in BC, the BC Broken actually use Tauren bone structure, and with the way they talk, and the way they move, and the way they cast abilities, but then they have a look of the Broken. But the guys in Legion actually have the body structure of a Draenei, and the looks of a Broken. So that actually would apply fairly well. I don't know how some piece of gear would work for them, because these guys seem to have slightly elongated face and more tentacly kind of a thing going on, and then the ears that point out like a night elf kind of deal. Also just 3 fingers. That would be interesting to see how that would apply them. I actually could see these guys become as a sub-race. Alpha Worgen, ancient night elf, elven druids of the pack. So basically you're saying Worgen with like a really bright white skin. Talk about, I actually think would be cool. What I think would be cool is like if you look at the one on the left and right, like the one on the right obviously has blood patches, but what if you had like a patch of fur that's just a different color like that? Or the guy on the left who has like this, what looks like an eye patch, like fur bit for it. I think that'd be kind of cool. Maybe if they stood up more straight, that'd be interesting. Although I just feel like if they were to update Worgen models and maybe even Goblin models, that'll be enough to make it, you know, a lot more presentable. Instead of having them a sub-race, just give them a whole brand new model to look a lot cooler, more fur effects and such. Silverpine Worgen, what the fuck is that? Partial transformation. I don't know, that looks a little too weird. That just looks a bit too, no, I don't think so. I just want to say no. Half orcs. So you're talking about like the orcish Draenic half breeds. Besides Garona, I don't know a single one, so I doubt it. I feel like a lot of people are sick about orcs when it comes to, you know, orcs in general after warlords. I guess you could add these, but I feel like just Draenor orcs would be a lot more plausible. Or even the Blackrock orcs that join the tribe, or I don't know, Shattered Hand, like tribes that decided, screw the warlords, I'm gonna join the horde on Azeroth. And you know, you could be like this gray orc with a shattered hand, but that actually wouldn't work. I don't even know how that would work actually. Half ogre, I think is the same thing as the half Draenic orcs. I mean, you would basically get 10 orcs. You might as well just bring Draenic orcs in. People said they wanted ogres for the longest time, and if you give them like a half orc, half ogre, I don't know if that would work. Would these guys be bigger? I mean, I guess they could do some slight adjustments to give sub-races, but at that point I think just bring us ogres. Make ogres work. I don't know what the females would look like. They'll probably be ass ugly, but please just make it happen, Blizzard. Of course, there's a lot of options. I'm gonna kind of skim this one. Forest trolls, the beefier, greener looking trolls, basically a walking veg. Then we got the sand trolls, and these guys actually had cool models back in Throne of Thunder. The guy on the left was a boss. That'd actually be cool if they were to take a little bit more detail like that and apply that to trolls. Other than the High Mountain Tauren, we just talked about this earlier. The Tonka would be a great option. I mean, look at the kid on the right. Look at the dude on the left. He's like, huh? You're looking at me? These guys would look so freaking great. That would fit the lore, that fit the story. They've been around forever, and I mean, it'd just be another Tauren. Now, this one I thought was actually interesting. Recently deceased, newly risen Forsaken. It goes about the theme of Sylvanas trying to find a way to keep her people together, and the only way to keep the people growing, or I guess the Forsaken growing, is to have more people die. So a newly risen Forsaken, newly deceased Forsaken possibility could occur, because Sylvanas is trying to grow her faction a little bit more and more. Even though she's war chief of all the horde, she is still focused on her faction. So to find a way to bring more recently deceased into the ranks would actually look pretty cool. So you basically would have mostly human looking undead with different eyes, a lot paler skin, and maybe some, like you can see on the left guy, he has a lot of scratches and a little bit of bone parts or undead rotten parts showing up, but not too many. And the one on the right, it's like if you cover yourself enough, you could look basically normal human. But of course you would have some aspects like, you know, the bony fingers maybe to show through. So not completely fully decomposed, but kind of getting there. And this one I actually think is interesting, a skeleton, long dead forsaken, as the... I mean, again, it's back to Sylvanas trying to grow her people. So if you were to bring in just full-blown skeletons into the ranks, which would have exactly the same animations as undead, as basically a Forsaken that's so deceased that their skin falls off of their bones. I think that could be a possibility, but those guys just make me think of Arthas and Lich King and maybe even Diablo 3 too much, at least the images I'm looking at right now. So I feel like within moderation, I feel like that could work, but to that extent where it's just literally Scourge walking around, I feel like it'll be weird to see on the streets of Orgrimmar. Dark Fallen Elves, Undead Elves, that actually would look cool for Undead or maybe even Blood Elves to have Undead Elves. And they do have the Dark Rangers that are following around Sylvanas, and they're basically Undead Elves. They have red eyes instead of blue eyes or yellow eyes, so that actually would work out pretty cool. Although I don't know who subrace there would be for. Would they be a subrace for the Undead, or would they be a subrace for the Blood Elves? I'm pretty sure Blood Elves would probably have these guys, but then they're like the middle ground. I'm not sure. That's the only question I have, is where would they go? But I would agree that would be actually a possibility. Then you have the half Blood Elves, half elves loyal to the Horde. Heavier physique, pure fighters, half human elves that have stayed with the Blood Elves until today, exposed to Fel. I don't really know about half elves. I don't really know that many. I don't know if there's any half elves in the lore actually. I guess it'd be kind of cool to like have that physique of a human where they're more muscled, but then they have characteristics of a Blood Elf, like a mix. So maybe they would have like a human model, but like Blood Elfish hair. That would be interesting, and maybe like a Blood Elf face, although that might look a little weird here and there. Maybe that could work. Maybe, I'm not sure. Undermine Goblin, unrelenting capitalists. Defining characteristics: male are short and fat, females are taller. Disgusting displays of capitalism, pretty much worse. Most people ever in fantasy. Oh my god, holy it makes me feel like the dialogue was written by somebody, by a straight up commie. Dude, I'm even from Russia and I'm not that much of a commie. What the hell? Regardless, that would be actually kind of cool to have shorter, fatter, more pampered looking goblins, maybe taller females that have like some sort of bling and maybe like necklaces and just shinies and even rings. Normally rings don't show up on characters, but these guys could have like rings and maybe like leather gloves when they're not wearing anything. Maybe even a hat, unless, you know, so they always have a hat on, some kind of crazy goggles maybe. That could be kind of cool, because you're trying to find ways to customize goblins, and that'll actually be kind of a cool way. But this is basically taken from like Hearthstone type of cards. I'm pretty sure that's the artwork behind these. Then we have Hobgoblins, insane alchemical transformation. So you're talking about what, like purple or blue goblins? Yeah, why not? I mean, I guess it would look physique heavy. I don't really know how you could make goblins look physique heavy. I feel like that would be kind of interesting though, if they were to add more options. Although I don't know how many people are asking for like sub-races for goblins in particular. I think there's a lot more other races that could use a few, I guess, sub-races. And that's actually the bottom of the list. So this list did not feature anything about orcs except for orc ogres or orc geni. Didn't talk about the or different clans of orcs. One human. We're missing, I believe, what are we missing? Actually, I think it got just about everybody except for Pandaren and actually I think we just got just about everybody. I'm probably missing somebody right now of the cuff, but I think they covered just about everybody. Again, this could be a possibility, but I am basically 50-50 on this. I feel like it's 50, actually no, 40-60. 40% this could be a thing. 60% this is just a hoax, just to divert people into a whole nother direction while Blizzard is cooking himself up the big release, because I highly doubt there's coming sub-races is the first thing on the podium. Although if that happens, I'll probably eat my hat. Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. Hope you enjoyed. I'll see all of you in the next video.